Hey, good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Digital Marketing Toolshed. I am your host, Jenny Jones. I am here for our SaaS Saturdays event. Now, the way SaaS Saturdays work, and just in case you guys are just joining me here and don't know, SaaS Saturdays is just something that I decided to do with some of the SaaS founders that I have relationships with or that I've met in the past, or I just want to invite onto the show for others to learn and understand more about their particular SaaS tool. And again, um, we're going to have SaaS Saturdays. We're going to have SaaS events. So there's going to be a lot of things. You're going to get overwhelmed this year. So this is our first one of the year. We're going to kick this one out right. We're going to have our founder come on, and we're going to talk about helping you strengthen your business this year through journeys and nurturing and just taking clients to the next level. So I want as he gets ready, as he gets ready to join, I want to make sure he has, yeah, so he should have that. So kind of want to talk to you briefly about some of the changes that I'm seeing in the industry. Um, some of the changes that I'm seeing in the industry is obviously AI is taking over. But I want to bring up this graph. Do I have it here? I wanted to bring up something because you guys know we're always trying to get better here at you guys always know that. So let me pull up this graph here really quick. Um, I'm gonna pull this up here. Want to know how everybody's wait, that didn't work. Want to know how everybody's New Year is going so far? Uh, yeah, so I wanted to know how everybody's New Year's going. In you can kind of put in the chat how's your New Year going, and I want you to put some big bodacious goal that you have this year. Go ahead and drop that in the chat as well. Today's going to be good because we're going to talk about some of the science behind uh nurturing and things of that nature, right? Hey, C Store joining us. It's Mike, Michael. Um, let me pull this up for you real quick, and I don't want to get your take on this as we go into the start here. Let me see, where is it at? This is gonna be crazy. It's not gonna be. It's not gonna be surprising to anyone. But hey, Joyful Stampy, how you doing? Let's see. All right, so let me switch screens. I want to pull that up real quick. I don't know where he's I don't know where the founder is. I just talked to him like 20 minutes ago. I was like, dude, here's the link, right? So I have no idea. He's gonna probably call me in a minute. Says, Jenny, where's the link? I'm like, dude, I gave you the link. So let me see. Let me share screen real quick. I want to just get your discussion on this really quick as we kind of get started. I want to figure out where he's at. Um, so check this out. This is interesting. This was done by the jobs and the trends of the new year from 2025 to 2030. Um, hey, Radiance, how you doing? So check this out. Do you guys see this here on the so this is what I was trying to tell people. Look at what's going on here in the industry, right? And I don't think it's a surprise that AI and information processing technologies, you're going to see an increase of over 86%. And this is share of employers surveyed. 86% of them this is the technology trends that are driving business transformation from 2025 to 2030, right? 5 year span. They're saying AI and information processing technologies is they're going to see jobs increase by 86%, and then robots and autonomous systems they're going to see increase by 58%, and then energy generation, storage, and distribution. That's really from the energy generation, storage, and distribution. That's probably from crypto. I can see that being from crypto. New materials and composites, 30%. Semiconductors and computing, that's always there, right? Quantum and encryption, 12%. Seem like that should be more. Biotech, gene, 11%, and then satellites and space technology, 9%. Why are we still going to space? I don't know. What do you guys think about that? What do you guys think about the what do you guys think about this whole AI evolution here? Because they're saying AI and information processing, but what I think is more important, and I don't know that people are getting, is robots and autonomous systems. Meaning, so when you start looking at different tools to do a lot of the automation and things like that for you, um, like they have robots. I'm assuming, like for Amazon and things like that, they have robots actually doing a lot of the labor work. So a robot doesn't call in sick, is what they basically say. So that same concept is going into RPA systems when it comes on the actual system side or the digital side. Um, that's happening as well. What do you guys? Let me know in the comments what you guys think about that. Let me know in the comments. Or do you guys see anything in this chart that's different, or you expected anything different? Let me know in the comments. All right. So you guys have any comments on that? All right. So as he had some technical difficulties, but he's going to be joining here. Jason's going to be joining us soon here. So I'm going to bring up. I'm going to start this discussion by doing a whiteboard. So today's going to be a little bit of whiteboard session. It's going to be more of the educate us and kind of um, get us going in the right direction. Um, Joyful Sappy says, "Hey, huge change is coming, going to look and feel completely different from what we know and we see right now." Yeah, absolutely. I think it's changing. I think a lot more people, you can get more done via automations and things of that nature. So that's gonna kind of be the future. So as you're out there looking for tools, you definitely there are going to be tools that's going to do a lot more for you. Is going to make things more efficient for you, right? And it's going to save time, so that way you can get more done, right? What I wanted to do was, he's going to come on. I got to try to figure out. So let's talk about the tool we're gonna talk about today. Is we're going to Let me remove this from the screen here. I want to set this up. for you guys. Um, Let me see here. All right. So let's talk about this tool here for a minute. Where is it at? All right. So let me share this tool. And I have no idea what's going on here. Du- 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 du. So let's talk about this tool here. Let's kind of get into it. I have no idea what's going on here as far as he's trying to get in. He's having some problems getting in. But what I wanted you guys to know about is this particular tool here, Tarvent. Some of you may have heard of it. Some of you probably haven't heard of it. But this tool is doing some unique things, and they're taking I'd say they're taking the market by storm. Let me see. I have no idea what's going on. Let me try to let me see. Da, 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 da. Let me see. All right. Yeah, I don't, for some reason he can't. Something's wrong with the system. All right, so let's go. I'm trying to get him in, and then I'm trying to figure out what's going on. So what I wanted to talk to you about is I wanted you to see here as we go. These are some of the companies that have used this system and trusted the system, and the reason. And there's some reasons why. So you got Citigroup, you got Canon, right? You got Air Canada, right? You have State Farm, you have Scott's, you have Home Depot. So these are and there's a reason why, and there's a trend that you're going to see here. And then you got the bank Chase, and then you got Verizon. So these are all the companies that have used this technology, and Toro, Mastercard, Grand Casino, Lowe's. And the reason why they've used them is because of their ability to be able to separate um, their journeys better, and we're going to talk about that. So let me go ahead and get into some of the whiteboard I wanted to do. I have no idea. Let me get into some of the whiteboard I wanted to do, and I wanted to show you the major differences. And I want you to either in the comments, I want you to tell me um what's some of your favorite CRMs and stuff that you're using or that you're currently using for your to connect with your audience and things of that nature. And I want to understand, do they mostly use list? So some of the CRMs that I've used, you can put the name if you want. Actually, yeah, you can put the name, but the most of the ones that I use a list, and I just want to know some of the ones you're using, and then do in fact do they use a list? That's what I wanted to know from you, if they use a list or not. Because we're gonna break some things down because there's a way you have to do this, right? So, do they use a list? What do you guys normally look at? What tools do you guys normally look at here? Anyone? Radiance, Joyful, C Store. What do you guys? I mean, do you guys understand the what happens when um someone enters into your CRM? Do you add them to a list? I just wanted to know. Yes, no, maybe so. Because this is normally how people get in to. So what they'll probably do is they'll probably come in through ease up base. Really? So do they come in through a form or something like that? Like right here, and then we'll call this a form. Do they come in through a form? And then the form takes them to a list or something like that. All right, so you're naming Upbase, you're naming Blue. Okay, so C Store says I don't have a CRM. Okay. All right. Well, that's good. That's good to know. Don't have a CRM. We got a form. And I mean, just in case some of you guys don't know, is a customer relationship management system. How are you connecting with your clients? How are you sending them coupons? How are you sending them how are you sending them uh information? How are you keeping them updated? Just started using it. Yes, you just started using Blue, or you just started using Upbase? You just started using Upbase? Okay. All right. So for some reason, he can't get in, and I don't. We'll be using Tarvent. Okay. Yeah, I can't. I'm trying to. I'm having a really. I think what happened was I think I started. Well, I may have started it too early. I'm not really sure. Hmm. Let me see what's going on here. Yeah, he can't join, and I don't know why. That's weird. I've only had this happen one other time, so let me see something else. Okay. Yeah, for some reason, technology I use, booking app where my CRM is on, it's called Fresa. I think I've I think I've heard of that one before. Fresha. Yeah, I think I've heard of that one before. Um, this is crazy because I just talked to him a minute ago. I think Kartra includes a lot of tools like CRM. Do you use Kartra? Is Kartra is a lot of moving parts, but they give you all this other stuff. So it's Kartra's kind of a CRM, kind of a learning management system as well. Um, let me see. Uh, uh, let's see. For content creation and courses. So let me ask you this, right? Yeah, we're trying to. I don't. I'm. We're texting each other back and forth. And I may have to do a demo here myself. I didn't really expect that, but it's easy for me to do because I can just explain to you what is going on and what's differently happening. Cartridge for content creation courses. So let me guys ask you this, right? And as before we move on, and I appreciate you sharing that with me because I want to go somewhere with this, and then I'll probably have to spin it forward here a little bit and try to share with you guys some of the best. Oh, I see him now. All right. So I'm gonna bring him on now. But before we set it up, I wanted to share with you guys really quick. All right, so he's here. So Jason's here. So I appreciate you joining, Jason. I'm gonna pull him from the screen. Let me put this one thing out there and see stores there. Let me ask you guys: are you guys still seeing courses, right? And this is not off topic totally, but this is where the landscape is kind of changing. Where are you guys seeing are people still doing courses? That's what I want to know. Are people still doing courses, or are you still attending courses? Because we went through this phase in this window where it was a COVID phase where we were going through these courses and stuff like that. I'm going to add Jason to the stream here. But Jason, one of the questions I set up for the audience was, are people still doing courses? I mean, today we're in 2025 officially. as we kind of, I'm gonna introduce you, but I just wanted to ask you right off the jump, as soon as you joined the room, and I appreciate you joining. Thank you for getting up on this Saturday to join me on the SaaS Saturdays. But really quick,
Sure.
what are people still doing courses? I just want to know. I just kind of want to take a little brief poll. Um, I just want to take a really quick brief poll. So Radiant says yes. What are you seeing, Jason?
All right, we definitely see people doing courses, and that's one of the draws to our system are the people that are doing courses because with our automation system, it makes it really, really easy. So we see a lot of webinars and courses that are not just one webinar, but a whole series.
Okay. Yeah, I just wanted to know. I kind of wanted to know because I've seen a little slight shift with the advent of ChatGPT. Um, I've seen a little bit of, I think there's still some courses out there, but I haven't seen, I'm in a course right now. Just took one. I started one yesterday. So I'm always on the constant of learning. So I appreciate that. So again, thank you for joining us here today. Jason. Jason is the founder and CEO of Tarvent. And I was just going through your impressive list on your website of Toro and Chase and all these other companies that are using your tool. And I was telling people the power, I was going to tell them the power of using your tool and the reason why um, people are gravitating to a tool like yours. And I was trying to tell them about, we are going to get into what I was sharing here was I was talking about how some people kind of get in through like a form here, and then the form kind of takes them, this is traditional, kind of takes them to some
Sure.
type of list or something like that. Can you
Yeah.
tell me, and as we kind of walk through and kind of graph through this, if you can give us like a 60-second elevator pitch of what Tarvent is and what Tarvent is doing and how it's disrupting traditional CRMs and the way you guys kind of do things, kind of a little 60-second pitch, and then we'll kind of get into this breakdown, and then we'll go to some best practices, and then we'll do some best practices of nurturing and what you're seeing people in your system do. So thanks, Jason.
Yeah, thank you for having me on. Yeah, so Tarvin is an email marketing platform with a lot of marketing automation features. And so, where we are different than everybody else, right from the get go, when you go to our pricing page, you'll see that we don't offer tiers. So, when you get into our system, you get every feature at one price. So, it's just based on the number of contacts. It's one of the things that we're seeing with a lot of our competitors is they're raising prices tremendously. And then on top of that, they're moving features that were commonly used in lower tiers to higher tiers. So not only are each tier costing more money, but then also to get the same features, it's going to cost you more money because you have to go into those other tiers. So aside from that, the biggest thing that people find unique about us is how intuitive our interface is. I mean, let's be real. There's a lot of features that all of the ESPs have, including ourselves, but how that information is presented and how easy it is to use, that's the differentiator between us and our competitors. So when you go into our solution, you're going to find it's extremely easy to use, whether you're a novice user or an extremely advanced user. And like you said, we support customers as large as like Chase. I believe Chase is the largest financial institution in the U.S. And we support them all the way down to very small one-person companies that are doing email marketing and everything in the middle as far as size of company goes. So that's really where our tool stands out. And then you will find an enormous number of Easter eggs. That's kind of what people look at it as. They just keep finding more and more features that our system has. So while everybody may say, yep, we support automation as more like a checkbox thing, we deep dive into those to make sure that you have every possible feature there is.
Yeah, so no, I appreciate you sharing that. And I found that to be very unique with your particular tool. Now, let's kind of talk about there's your tool is this large. Let's concentrate on where I think is your superpower. That's what I think. And that was the reason why I wanted you on the show was the power and nurturing and the power and how it's so much easier done with your tool. Let's start at the top. when it comes to audiences and then when it comes to lists. Let's talk about a major difference in that. And I can bring up the whiteboard if you want, or we're just let's talk people. Let's educate people on that really quick, and we don't have to get technical, but we can just be as practical as we need to be, because I think there's a major difference here, and I think people need to understand that. You want to bring up the whiteboard again, or and we're gonna show. I'm gonna allow you to show some pieces, but I wanted people to understand the difference.
Yeah, so in our system compared to our competitors, and I kind of have to talk about our competitors a little bit just to
Yeah.
kind of understand the difference, because when you get into our system, there's going to be a concept that you're probably not very familiar with, that you just don't know it could exist. So if you were to go into one of our competitors, I won't name names, but
Yeah.
if you go into one of our competitors, pretty much anyone, when you get in there, your account has got one master list.
Okay.
So you can add lists as you've got in here, but they have one master list, or in our system, we call them an audience.
Okay.
So if you add people to multiple lists in one of our competitor system, their profile is exactly the same depending on what list they're in. Doesn't matter. So if you're in 5 lists, your first name, last name, email, and all the fields that you capture for that data is
Uh-huh.
the same.
Okay,
So
so I just want to make sure that so people are understanding that, and I want to make sure that you guys are getting this in the chat. So you guys do need to understand that once you jar, and this is most of them because I've used most of them, or at least test drove most of them. So you come into a list. So if you're John Doe, John Doe enters a list, but John Doe will always be John Doe. Is that right, Jason? Is that
yep,
John Doe will always be John Doe? It doesn't matter, So inside of John Doe, you may say, "Oh, well, John Doe has, blue eyes, brown. His birthday is on. It's in July, right? But he's always John Doe. Got it? And that John Doe is on said list, right? He can be on another list. So let's do that. So let's create another list, but he still will be John Doe. Is that? I think that's kind of what you're saying, right?
yeah. So I can actually give you an example of one of our customers, Toro. So Toro is a perfect example of where working with other competitors becomes difficult. So Toro is a big company. They have about 8 different brands. So they have the Toro brand for like lawnmowers and snow blowers and some heavier equipment. And then they also have other brands like Lawn Boy and Irrital. Irrital is for irrigation equipment. So they have all these different brands. Well, if you're going to run multiple brands within our competitors, you're going to need to have an account per brand. Or you could run it with one and have multiple lists, but then in brand A and brand B, the same fields exist that you're going to capture data for. So, back to John Doe, if you're looking at Irrital, you may say, okay, for irrigation, this type of customer, he works on a farm and he's got 2,500 acres and some different information. Now, if you're a lawn boy customer, that's a home. That's just a homeowner
So
that has a very small lawn tractor, not even a tractor, lawnmower. And so for that lawnmower, you may capture that they have one lawnmower and they do self-propel and whatever else. So there's going to be drastically different information that you're going to keep about each of those brands. Well,
so
in
we'll
our
drive.
competitors,
So
all that gets
Jason,
mixed together.
So Jason,
And
we're gonna try. That's gonna once we go into audience, that's gonna allow us to open up that a little bit more. I just kind of wanted
yep,
to make sure that people understand, and I appreciate that because I know where you're going with that. I know exactly where you're going with that. I wanted to make sure that people understood John Doe first, though, right? Because once we start moving to the audiences and separating them out, it's going to give us a better explanation of how we do that. I just want to make sure that people know that traditionally the way this is set up and where they're I know for was it I can't remember who's the one that got bought out by Intuit. What was that?
oh,
What was it?
MailChimp.
So I know the way MailChimp works is you can have one list if you want to get multiple. listings or multiple setups, you'd have to pay additional for that. And I know that because I've tried to use it. And it's like, well, I don't want to just, I want to cross market some other things. They say, oh, you have to pay for that. So I just want to make sure that people understand this first, because we're going to move over to this and then we're going to do the journeys. We're going to talk about that. So if John Doe is on list one, right? And you can enter. So we'll go John Doe here. We'll go John Doe here. So if John Doe is there and you say, well, I want to send John Doe something else, you'd have to basically, if you put him on a different list, he's still going to be John Doe. Is that
Yeah, the real big deal of this is opt-outs.
okay?
So back to the Toro thing really quick. So if I'm on two different brands, if I have a Lawn Boy lawnmower and
Uh-huh.
I have a Toro snowblower, well, Toro and Lawn Boy are completely different. And so if I get rid of my Toro snowblower and I unsubscribe, well, if I'm using just lists,
Right.
then I'm going to unsubscribe from everything because John Doe is John Doe. It's the same contact that's just associated with multiple lists, but it's still one contact. And
Right.
so if they unsubscribe, you just lost that customer across all of your brands if you were using lists.
Oh, got it. So if John Doe said, hey, you know what? I want to opt out. He's like, dude, I got you in three different lists. It doesn't matter. They're still opting out of three lists, even though they still have another brand that they may be interested in. You've already lost a customer. You can't even no longer really market to them because they've opted out.
Exactly. And
Okay.
you know, the other competitors, they have interest groups. So these lists, you can treat them like interest groups, and you can check that box to say, I'm interested in Toro, or I'm listed in or I'm interested in Lawn Boy. So
Okay.
you could do that, but contacts don't do that as much. Their default is going to be, I want to unsubscribe. They're not going to go in to update their profile and uncheck boxes for the interest that they have. That's not going to be as common. So when they opt out, you just lost them across all of your brands or across all of your marketing efforts that you may not want.
Okay.
So that's really when you use lists, or in our system we call them groups. But when you use those lists, it's just one contact associated with all those.
Okay.
So unsubscribes tends to be a real big pain, and you lose your audience that way really quick.
So audience here, so let's talk about, so this is traditional, right? This is what people traditionally do on this side. They have a form, they sign up to a list, right?
Yep.
And I have one tool, I can make a lot of lists, but what I've seen is I got like 30 lists, but I have to add a person to each list. It says, I want this person to understand about my real estate practice. I want them to also understand about my retirement practice. I also want them to understand about my investment practice. So John Doe is on three separate lists in my business, right? They're in three separate lists.
Right.
So it becomes a challenge because I have this person across multiple lists. Now let's go over here, and we see how you guys are free to ask your questions. I'm going to come to them as we get towards the end. So over here on Tarvent, what happens here with audiences here? So you guys, instead of using lists, you use audiences. Now tell me in simple terms, what is the difference in using a list versus using an audience? Do you want to talk about audience, or you want to talk about groups, or no, I
Yeah,
don't want to
yeah, we'll
confuse the
talk about
people.
both. Because
Okay.
so in since you brought up Mailchimp, so Mailchimp has lists, and all those lists are the contact is associated with your account. So you have your Mailchimp account, and
Yeah.
the contact is just associated with your account. And you
Right.
can think of it as having one master list. So
Right.
your account has one master list, or it has one audience. You can't see it. You don't see that level of organization. All
Right.
you see is those lists. So
Right.
now when you go into Tarvent, what
Hmm.
we do is we give you that level of organization that MailChimp is not allowing you to see. So in our system, you're going to see audiences. So now those audiences will have lists, or as I referred to before, we call list groups. So you're going to have an audience, and then you're going to have multiple groups under there. So when people fill out forms or whatever, they can get associated with one or more lists within that audience. So back to the Toro thing, they would have a list, they would have an audience for Toro, they would have an audience for Lawn Boy and all their brands. So like I said, they have about 8 brands or more. So depending on which brand you got the email for, or you went to the Toro website versus the Lawn Boy website, you're going to get associated with that audience. Where, like in most competitors, you're just associated with their overall account. And so then if you unsubscribe from everything. So, and so
All
you're
right.
doing a fancy job there on getting this organized. And
Well, no,
so,
I think everybody knows what I do here on the digital marketing tool shed is I want to make stuff when I'm doing these use cases. I want to make sure that people understand what they're
yeah,
getting. So for yours, everybody goes to one list, but what you're saying here is you can have an audience one, so you can put. So let's still use John Doe, and we'll probably assign him to different brands. Is that what we're doing here?
yeah. So basically, John Doe would come into audience one.
Okay.
And then within audience one,
Mhm.
he can be associated with as many of those lists as you want. So you can organize your data the same way that you do in any of our competitors. And honestly, for most people, especially if you're a smaller business and you're
Yeah.
not running multiple brands or
Sure.
you multiple very distinct customer types,
Sure.
which we'll get into when I share my screen.
Sure.
So if you're not doing that, you're going to typically go with one audience. It
So
just
one
makes
on.
life a lot
Yeah.
easier
Mhm.
unless you have the need. If you have the need, then it becomes a nightmare in other systems because you have to run multiple accounts. In
So
our system, it's still one
let's stay
account.
on one audience, right? Everybody's not. I mean, I could scroll up here and I can show you how mines break out. We'll talk about that a little bit later if we
Yep.
need to. But typically you'll have one audience, but you may have multiple brands. That I mean,
Yeah.
that's the so let's use so Radiance by Ritalia, she's on here. She does she has a brand for maybe she's marketing to nail techs only, right? She has a beauty salon. So maybe she's marketing to nail techs only. Then maybe she's marketing to makeup artists, right? And then maybe she's marketing to hairstylists. So these are her 3 brands here, right? So is that, I mean, that's kind of, so she can say, hey, I'm doing a workshop for nail stylists. She'll just be able, even though she may have a whole brand for nail stylists and she may market these as 3 separate brands. Is that kind of the concept of what that is right there?
In that case, you probably will still only have one audience because you can have one
Yeah, no, we just
company.
want one audience.
Yeah,
We're just talking about
one
one audience.
audience,
Yeah.
and you can have multiple lists. Each
Okay.
list is for those different types of customers. But if you have multiple brands, like multiple distinct companies, so you can think of it as if you're never
Oh,
going
I
to
see.
send a campaign or an email to multiple audiences at once. In fact, our system doesn't allow it.
Okay.
So like again, if it's Toro and Lawn Boy, I'm never going to send a Toro email to a Lawn Boy customer because
Right.
they don't know each other. They may know that Toro owns Lawn Boy, but they don't. They're not co-marketing. So that's where I say that an audience is per brand or per distinct marketing effort. So if I'm marketing to vendors and I'm
Mhm.
marketing to customers, I'll never send a vendor email to a customer or
Okay,
vice versa.
so
So
can
in
we
that
change.
case, I'm going to want to have an audience for my vendors and I'm going to have another audience for my customers. And that what
Oh,
that allows is that allows your vendor to also be a customer. They can unsubscribe from being a customer if they want, but they're still a vendor.
so can I do this then? And this is we'll talk about. So can one of these this be audience? We'll call this B2B, right? And we'll call this B2C, right? Is that what we're doing here?
Yeah, yeah, we could do that. That's another, yep, that's kind of that vendor and customer. So
So we have, so in her instance, I know a little bit about her businesses. She does businesses maybe with the on a larger scale with schools or beauty schools and stuff like that. So that would be
Yep.
her business to business brand here. So she does business with business schools and says, "Hey, we have a new academy starting, and this is all schools." But then over here, this is where the actual students could go. Is that a fair?
That's exactly how you use it. So
Okay.
that's a perfect example of that.
So I just wanted to make sure that people are understanding. Now, before I'm gonna let you share screens. What's my challenge in trying to do this over here traditionally? Because this is traditionally what people have right now. So let me move this
Yeah,
down
the
here.
challenge is that, you have to be highly organized. So that's one thing. You just got to make sure you pick the correct list. But the real big difference is that if somebody unsubscribes, they're going to unsubscribe from all of your lists
Yeah.
using our competitors.
Okay.
So if they're a school and they're a nail tech, if the same contact, then if they unsubscribe, they're unsubscribing for everything across the board. So they're unsubscribing from
Oh,
your account as a whole. So that's the difference between us and a lot of our competitors is you can control that unsubscribe. So they're only unsubscribing from kind of the marketing channel that you're thinking of, that you're targeting them with, but not from everything. Because again, if it's a school, they may still be a nail tech, but they're also working at a school as well.
so because they're on one list, that when they unsubscribe, they're unsubscribing from everything, and
Well,
then
they could
so
be in multiple lists, but it's one contact that's spread
oh, that's
across
right, that's right,
multiple lists. So when that
that's right.
contact unsubscribes, they just
They unsubscribe.
unsubscribe from all the lists. Now again, I don't want to say that, there's no way around this with our competitors.
There's
There
a lot of
is. It's
hacking you have to
just
do.
you have to use interest. So then you list out all of the interest to those customers. So now the customers are aware that you have a school brand and you have, like in this case, the nail techs or what have you. So
So the easier way of explaining this, we're going to get into, we're going to show us what's going on here, is if I had John Doe and I had John Doe assigned to a B2B list, but I also have John Doe assigned to a B2C list. Once John Doe unsubscribes, he unsubscribes from both lists.
correct. Yep.
All at one, because there's going to
All in
be
one go. Yeah.
unsubscribe. There's always an unsubscribe at the bottom of the email. I think that's the new standard now. Person has to have an opportunity to opt out. That's kind of the email law or the email rules. So at the bottom where it says unsubscribe, once they hit unsubscribe, it removes them from my entire system.
Yep.
Even though I still
Yeah, it removes them from your whole account.
even though I still wanted to market to them over here on the B2B
Correct.
side. And then even if I wanted to add them back, their email would probably somewhat, in some instances, be flagged in my system as a person that's not interested. Okay. All right.
Yep.
So we
And
got
the
that.
other challenge with this, just from personal experience with one of our agency customers, that before we had this concept, which we started immediately after one of our customers did this, they were a large agency and they were doing the lists. Because everything is kind of grouped together,
Yeah.
they ended up sending a email for Home Depot customers to all the Lowe's customers. Well,
Oh,
Lowe's and Home Depot are direct competitors. So
direct. Yeah.
when you do things that way, you have to be much, much more careful on who you select to send that to,
Mhm.
because you can run into some pretty significant issues. And so that's where, like with us, we started the multiple audiences because you're never going to send an email to the Lowe's customers that is branded for Home Depot. So now they're completely separate brands.
All right. So, so Radiance. So this is what I was saying. She says, "Hey, exactly what you're saying is what I want and need in my life, right?" Because I know she has multiple. She does that. She has a lot of different moving parts in her business. All right.
If she
So
can make my hair look that good, then I'm going to come over there.
all right, so let's talk. So let's get in. Do you want to start journeys here now? You want to start the discussion of journeys now and then move over to your screen, or do we want to start? So what we want to do is each person that comes in per brand, we want to send them on a journey, right? Let's use 2 journeys here,
Yeah,
one on the other
usually.
side.
I mean, I can go into that on the screens, might be a little bit easier to see.
Yeah,
Um,
we can do that. Let's go ahead
yeah,
and do
so
that. You can share screen here. So where he's finding you, yeah, you can go ahead and get set up. So where he's finding most of the power and people are using the power users are using the journeys to do the perfect nurturing of this particular uh Radiant said, yeah, I can have your hair look like mine. That's too funny. Um all right. Let's see. Uh, let me see. Hold on. What did I do here? Yeah, there we
there
go.
we go.
All right. So what are you going to show us now? So this is Tarvent. This is the back end of Tarvent, and
Not the back end, but this is
not the
what
back end.
you
Not
guys
the back
log into.
end. This is what we would see if we logged into.
Yeah, back end would be way more confusing.
Yeah, we're not even
so,
gonna. I
so
keep
yeah,
forgetting, man. You're kind of technical, so sometimes you'll be like, "Nah, we're not in the back end."
I know. I'm sorry. Yep, that's where my technical side comes out.
You're good.
So,
Um, yeah. No, go ahead. It's
all
up to
right.
you.
Well,
Yeah.
then I'll just go into audience really quick, just so you can kind of see how
Conceptually.
what we talked about
Yeah,
correlates to what you see on the screen.
sure.
And I won't spend too much time here. There's a lot to it, but we'll just kind of go into some basic things in here. So if you have one account, so I'm sorry, if you have one audience, this is going to look a little bit different. We've made it a little bit harder, so you can't just add multiple accounts or multiple audiences. Super easy. You have to go into account and enable that feature. You get to enable it yourself. It's always there, but we really want you to know what you're doing if you're going to add multiple audiences, because it gets into a little bit more organization. But so if I go into an audience, so this, you can see all your contacts, you can do a basic search, you can do an advanced search, and a number of different things. So in ours, we have groups. So like we talked about, we have, you had lists, and so most of our competitors have lists. In our system, we call them groups because they're all associated with one audience. So in fact, if I go down and I pick this person, I can look in here and I can see that, okay, they're in two different groups. So they're in the 3D probe mapping and CNC routering. So they're in these two groups. So if this contact unsubscribes, then they're going to unsubscribe from everything in this audience. Now we have two audiences, so I can jump down and I can see my other audience, vendors. So I can use this, or if I want, I can go back to the list page and I can see vendors. Now I have a different list of vendors and the people that are in there. And then when I'm in there, I can go into any one of these, and I have different custom fields that are available for vendors than there are for customers. So that's where you can keep different data for the different audiences that you've got.
Hmm.
So I won't go into too much more. There's a lot. Like you said, our system is really, really big, but we're going to kind of keep it focused. But the audiences, the only other thing is this is where you'll set up your forms. So you'll
Okay.
go in here and set forms up and do your work in there. And hey, there's a Jenny test in here right now. So that's just a demo account that we play around with. But
Mhm.
anyway, so this is where you'll set up your forms with the different form types that we can create, and go on. I wonder what we got in Jenny test. So it might have just been one that we were looking at previously on.
Yeah, I remember we were doing that test. So can we you're gonna take us through a journey. Let's
Yeah.
go back and let's use Ray Talia's her beauty salon type of setup. So we would bring a person in. Let's put them on a journey. So if a person joined her um if a person joined her mailing list, right? From one of her websites and say, "Hey, join my mailing list," or join, or they sign up for a school or something, and let's say they signed up for a class on how to be a good nail tech, but she wanted to cross sell them into something else as well. How would a setup like that look, or in your particular, yeah, your opt in, yeah.
Well,
Mhm.
we'll go through some of the basics first,
Let's do the basics.
before we jump into cross-selling and that sort of
Yeah,
thing,
yeah, yeah, yeah. Let's
because
let's
that
do that.
does get a little bit more complicated.
Sure. Yeah, let's just go to the
But
basics.
let's go for a basic one because this particular one is, and this is actually a template that we've got in our system. I spelled this wrong, so looks like I'll need to put an E in there. But so in this welcome opt-in, so they go to your website and they fill out the form. So you build a form in our system, you put it on your website, and then they fill out that form. That is kind of the most common flow that we see. So
Mhm.
people will you'll fill out the form,
Uh-huh.
and then we have these entry triggers, they're called. And we have a lot of different entry triggers. Won't go over these for right now. Entry triggers, all they do is they listen for events or conditions. And when any of those events or conditions happen, it'll start a person on the journey. So in this case, the event that happened was a form event. Contact submitted the form. So as soon as they submit the form, and this would typically be like an opt-in form. Um, so once they do the opt-in form, then a tag is going to be or added to that contact, and that tag is just named interested. So I've got this interested tag over here that gets added to all contacts, and then we're going to send an email. So we're going to send an incentive. So maybe it's just a contact us form, or maybe they want to find out more information. So it really just depends on what the form is. So this would be a really basic flow
Mhm.
of just adding a tag saying they're interested, and then sending an email. So that would be one option that we've gotten here. Then we've got like a more advanced option. So let's say contact is added to your audience, whether that be through a form. Maybe you went into our system and you added them manually. You could use our mobile app and scan a business card and add them in through there. So there's a number of different ways that you can add contacts into our system, or an import or whatever. So in this case, this is a little bit more advanced journey, that as soon as a contact is added, really, we don't care how they do that. As soon as the contact's added, then we're going to send them a welcome email. We're going to wait a week, and then we're going to see, did they open that email within that last week? If they open the email, then we're going to send them a welcome follow-up. If they didn't open the email after a week, we're going to go down a different path, and we're going to send them a welcome reminder. So
Mm.
those are kind of they're basic, but these are some of the really common things that people would use use for journeys. And the nice thing about journeys is that, and you have is almost like hiring another employee that does a perfect job 24/7, never takes vacation, never has 6 days. It just does all the work for you, and it's extremely precise. It reacts at the absolute perfect moment based on what your customer is expecting.
All right. So I think what Radiance was saying was, she said, all right, so the basic flow is create the form in Tarvent, put it on my website, tag them when they come in, and then email them. Is that?
Yep. That's exactly based on this flow that we're talking about here. That's
Mhm.
exactly what you would do.
Okay. What's another, let's say she wanted to move all of her move all of her customers over from her former CRM where she was at. So they wouldn't come in through a form event. What would trigger, would we use a tag, or in that case, or
No, and that so if you're doing an import,
yeah.
so you're going to import all of your contacts over. Then we have another option where you'd use a bulk inclusion, and
Mm,
so with bulk inclusion, that's going to grab all the well, it could be either all contacts, it could be all contacts after the journey started. So it'll just grab anybody anybody that you import that is new after the journey starts, or before the journey starts, I'm sorry, or after the journey starts. So there's a couple different ways we could do this. And then you can run this bulk inclusion just one time, or you can run it on a recurring schedule. And that's what most people do. We'll do it on a recurring schedule because they may have imports from other websites that they run or what have you. So there's a lot of different reasons that people would have a recurring import into a journey. And all this does, and you can specify criteria as well. So, there's a lot of things that you can do to control all that. So then if I go in, add criteria in here, then I can say, okay, I want to add everybody as long as they are nail techs. So, you could do something like that and look at their data. And that's where you can set this criteria. And this criteria, you'll see this exact same user interface all throughout our system that does this segmentation filtering.
That's the one I use. So you go back there for a second. That's the one.
Sure.
It was easier for me because the drop down I use tags, or it'll say tags. I think you have to scroll. Should be in there
Let's
somewhere.
see. I think I skipped it. Here we go.
Yeah. So I do tags and I say tags equal to whatever, nail tag or
Yeah.
something like that. Then that's kind of where you're able to do that.
Yeah. So the bulk inclusion would be if you're doing that import from from another system, bulk inclusion would be the way that you would do it, and it would just grab everybody, on a recurring basis, and then they'll flow through the journey as expected.
So let me ask you another question, right? I know the answer to this question, but what
Sure.
if I use multiple email addresses? Like, so let's say I'm Ray Talia is very guilty of this. But what if I use Ray Talia at nail solutions, Ray Talia at beauty solutions, Ray Talia at makeup solutions? So tell me about that really quick. I mean, so I have multiple. I have three mailing domains. Is what I'm saying.
Oh, if you have three sending domains that you're
Yeah,
sending from?
three sending domains. Sorry if I wasn't
Oh, sure.
clear on that.
No, that's fine. I mean, that really doesn't have any impact here. I mean, that'll when you go to create the email, which I haven't created one for this, but if I were to go into another,
No, I what I was wanting, what I was wanting you to share. I send you a layup and you didn't even get it. Is I wanted people to know if they had multiple sending domains, they can set up multiple sending domains. So I guess you would go to your accounts.
I thought you were meaning in relation to journeys. So I'm
No,
sorry.
I know.
Okay.
I think I skipped on you because we were talking about. It's like, dude, we were talking about journeys, and then you skipped to the multiple. I was just highlighting the fact that you can send from multiple domains, is what I was saying.
Okay. Yeah. And that actually correlates back to those audiences because with multiple audiences, you get multiple brands. And with each of those brands, you're going to have a unique sending domain. And so that's where you could go into the account. You can go into domains and you could set up a bunch of different domains for sending. And then that will allow you for each audience or each brand, you can have a completely different domain that you're sending from.
So
So
can you? So go inside one of the emails or just a sample email, yeah, and show where I can actually even change them. So when you're ready to
So if
send
I
it
go
out,
into, and I jumped really quick through that,
yeah, you
but
don't
I
have to go
will
through the
show you
steps.
how
I just
easy
want
it
to,
is to get into there.
yeah, I just want.
But yeah, so when I'm in the from and subject, so that's just this area here. So let me back up a little bit just so I don't zoom so fast there. So I picked the send email step and I went into edit the email. So now I'm in the email that I'm editing and I want to set up the from and subject. So this is where you could set that up. And you'll pick the domain in here. And these domains that have the little red asterisk just means they're not verified. So you won't be able you could pick them, but you won't be able to send a domain. You won't be able to send this campaign until this domain is verified. But you can pick any of the domains that you want. Now, the thing that people do get confused on is they think they have to have an email address set up for it. Doesn't matter. So you can have the email address be anything that you want in here. So if I want it to be, whatever I want it to be, I can put whatever I need. So this doesn't have to be a valid email address. It needs to look like a valid email address from a syntax perspective, but otherwise you can put whatever you want. So it relates to the user better because the reply emails get handled differently, but that'll take us down a whole different road.
Yeah,
I don't
that's
know
we're
if you
not
want
gonna
to get
do
all
that.
into that.
Yeah, we're not gonna do that. I honestly, I did not know that you can make that whatever email address you wanted to. So, all right. So one last thing here, right? Can we? Can you show me the um the ease of building? Just show me building one email, putting together where's the form, how we drag the blocks and stuff like that, and you know what I'm talking about.
For an email or for a form?
Just an email, a regular email. If we wanted to send out a regular email,
Okay. So
um,
a regular email would be like a campaign. So if I'm setting up a campaign, and again, these are all just demos. So if I'm setting up a campaign to send out to people, then this is kind of what the editor will look like. And you'll notice the same editor, it looks the same for forms or landing pages, surveys, they all look the same. We did that just because we want you to learn the tool and not have to keep learning new things all the time. So how these are organized is we have kind of the structure, which are rows, and then we have elements that can go within those rows. So in this case, I have a row here, and maybe I decide for this, this one, I just have one row. That's my bad. So I have one row, and then I have a whole bunch of elements in that row.
sure.
So now if I wanted to, I can come down here and let's say for the footer, if I wanted to, I can, for that row, I can change this. And I can say, I want to add more columns. So now it's split it into 6 by 6. So I can change this and, do whatever to make that, however many columns that I want in there. I'm just going to delete, put it back. But if I want to add this image, so let's say we'll just take that image out. So if I want to add in the image, I just go to my elements, drop in an image, and this gives me a little placeholder of where I could put it. So I'm going to put it right here. And then I just click on that image, and now I'm going to choose the image. So I'm going to go in and select this, and then now I have my image. So with
Mm,
images, the one nice thing, this is another big differentiator between us of our competitors, is that we scale the image. You don't have to have the image the perfect size.
mm,
So in our system, we set up it by default, it has auto scale. So if you've set up your email to be, I think this is about 630 pixels wide. So if you set up your email to be 630 pixels wide and the image goes across the whole thing, this auto scaling will automatically size that image with the correct aspect ratio so it doesn't distort the image, but it will size it accordingly. So, and this works in Outlook, and Outlook is one of the biggest problems for image sizing. So we've taken, we've done a lot of effort to make sure that images render correctly. But anyway, so images, you could put that in. There's a bunch of different content. I always suggest people don't understand what the alt text is for on images. Please put it in. And the reason for that is to be ADA compliant. So there are a lot of people in the world that are disabled to some degree and are not able to necessarily see that image. And so alt text that just and this is just something for those people that have challenges seeing things. Alt text allows their readers because they'll have a reader that reads it to them, and it'll tell them what the alt text is because they can't see the image. So
mm.
that's where alt text comes in handy. So just figured I would let people know exactly what that's for. But Something a little more exciting, personalization. I'll show you how that works. So I just deleted some personalization stuff. So if I
Mm.
want, I could put in the person. I'm going to go into the contact and I'm going to put in the first name. So now that's the extent of what our competitors do. And you can put a default value. So I could say, dear customer, if I don't have their first name in the database, then I can
Right.
put a default.
Uh-huh.
That's the extent of what pretty much all of our competitors have. Our case, we know, especially because we worked with so many agencies over the years, we know that people are very picky about how their data displays. Rightfully so, they should be. But when you import data from other systems, that data may be all capital, may be all lowercase, it may be in some weird case because you have somebody that does creative typing. So, however it ends up being, in our system, we give you these functions or formatters, and these formatters will allow you to control how that text displays. So if you had all of your text lowercase, we can use the title case function to capitalize the first letter. So, and then if you're sending in multiple languages, we'll get into, well, if you're sending in multiple languages, you can actually select the language that we use. So if you're doing right to left reading or left to right, like English is, then we will do the title case appropriately for that particular language. So I hit add and it adds all this text in here. So now this is just text, meaning that if you want to learn our templating language, you can type all this yourself. If you don't want to learn our templating language, which unless you're really advanced and want to do some very advanced stuff, you're probably not going to learn it. You don't have to learn it. We just give you these wizards to do that stuff for you. But this is kind of how you edit. So a button in here, I can change the button. This is just, it's not an image or anything. So if I want to change this to purchase now, then, I can do that. Set up the link that it goes to, enable tracking so we can track when people click it, and we're done.
Nice. So as we get out of here, I want to get a couple of these questions. C-Store is like, hey, just a question. I think people have email fatigue. I know I do. Man, people, man, email has been a part of our lives ever since it's been a part of our lives. But he says, I feel like my inboxes get cluttered and create a feeling of being overwhelmed. What are your thoughts? You're the same guy without a CRM, right? I think he said, yeah. So what are your thoughts on that? I mean, people are still using email. I mean, do you have the percentages? Do you have some numbers on that?
On
Jason,
how many people are using email?
I mean, as far as marketing, right? Because I think people I went to this, I know when COVID happened, I know people kind of switched to SMS a lot, but email, I think it's email and SMS, but I think there's so many tricks going on with the SMS. I think people SMS to me, I think is kind of like, I'm gonna put our faces back here on screen here. I think I think SMS is a little bit different, but he's saying email fatigue. So how do you prevent email fatigue, or do you I've seen your emails you guys send out, but do you do anything any different, or do you just make your emails a little bit different, or can you share can you share with us a trick that people are doing to make them
It's
not look so
You know, I wish there was more magic to it, but there isn't. Email fatigue is real. I definitely understand that. But the way you get around email fatigue, we highly suggest using journeys. So, segmentation with campaigns. So, when you send out an email, you're going to try to narrow down, and this is where you do that in here. You could pick all the people that you want to send an email to. So, when you send a campaign, use segmentation. Don't blast it out to your entire audience and expect that every single person in your audience wants that specific
Mm.
email. That's how you're going to avoid email fatigue,
I think that's a
is
good point.
targeting who you send it to, journeys, making sure they get the email when they want the email, not just when you decide to send it. So journeys are becoming by far the most popular feature within our system. In fact, we've got several accounts that don't even send campaigns at all. They just use the journeys and that's it.
So they so to Oh, okay. So let's answer his question with a solution. It's more of Yeah, everybody gets email fatigue, but if it's something you've opted into as an interest exclusively to you, not that Jenny's just sending out a whole bunch of emails to everybody on his email list. I got a large email list, but I'm not going to send all my stuff. If I send something that's directly has your interest, or you stop by and you signed up for something before, then I think that kind of cuts down on the email fatigue. And that's what, from what I understand you're saying. And using a tool like Tarvent allows us to say, hey, you know what? Don't send this to all 5,000 of my clients. Just send this to the people that have this tag. These are the people that's interested in nails. I only want this to go to people that's interested in nails. I don't want to send this to people that does hair or makeup. I only want to send this to people that do nails. And then I'm gonna have a nice email that only talks about nails. Is that what you're saying?
Yep, exactly. And tags, you brought that up. Tags is by far the number one way that people will organize and segment their data in our system. So we have groups. You can use groups for segmenting, but then you can
Sure.
also use tags is another good way. So between your tags, profile field data, and groups, you can organize things and really target who the email goes to. Because while you have email fatigue, if you're getting an email that you expect and you want, you're not going to have that fatigue. You're going to want to read that email. So the name of the game is to not blast out a ton of email. It's to make sure it's a very targeted email at a perfect time.
So I wanted to bring this up for C Store here really quick as we kind of wrap up. And the reason why I'm bringing this up, C Store, is not to this is the reason why I don't like to be fatigued. I only want to get email from things that I have interest in. And I'm only bringing this up to you because this is the power. We took you through one signal segment with Tarvent. This is an advanced setup that I run, but I'm saying this is the range of the tool and to prevent fatigue, right? So I have probably 10,000, close to 15,000 contacts, but I have I have 3 different companies, right? I have 3 legitimately different companies that have 3 different markets. So what I did was I created an audience for each company. I have a company A, company B, then I have a C corporation, company C. And so what I did was for this is my largest company and it has the most brands. I have maybe 11 brands in this one. So because I know myself and my VA and my spouse that helps me sometimes because I know what I'm trying to do here in this particular company. I already have these broken down, but not only do I have them broken down because they have multiple brands, I actually have different email addresses that I want them to come from this particular audience group. Then when I get ready to send things out from another, and I send them down a different journey, I send them down from another different audience group, and I send them down different groups here. I'm just giving you the range and how you prevent email fatigue for your people that are interested in your clients and products. And so this particular group is using 12 different email addresses. This one's using 8 different emails. And this was using 4 different email addresses. So 24 email addresses altogether. My point to you, and I didn't bring that up to try to confuse you or to try to impress you. It's more of the fact that this is the range and the scope. There's no way I can do that with any other tool that I have. And you guys know I have a lot of tools. And I was looking for a tool that gave me the range, gave me the ability to nurture each particular um, client and put them all each on their different journeys according to what their interest is. So, and that was the reason why we brought Tarvin on here. Someone had a question. Um, let me see. Did you want to add anything to that, Jason? I just wanted to show him the range that you can actually do. And that's
No, I
more
mean that.
advanced, but yeah.
I mean, my brain goes a million miles an hour with all the things you can do, but I don't want to confuse people. So I'm just gonna. I mean, what you said is exactly where people are finding a lot of value in our system because we just don't limit people like a lot of the competitors do. So you
Okay.
can
So
organize all that, and everything that you showed could all be in one single account.
yes, that's all one account that I have.
Yep.
Sorry, that would never happen anywhere else that I have. Anything else that I have. So let me see. If we get some of these questions, and we're going to get out here. We can start a little bit late, and yeah, let's try to wrap this up. Does anybody have any questions? Someone asked a question where you're going to return to. I mean, we try not to talk about. I'm not even going to answer that. So no, it's a different story. So um let's see any questions here. I'm going through 'em. Um, so so I will have a link in the description to pick up your tool. And if people are interested in to try to switch over to Tarvent from what they're currently using, I do want to offer that opportunity. So I'll put that link in there so that people can do that. Make sure you guys give me a thumbs up on this particular video, and make sure you guys tune into some of the other lives that we have coming up. I don't see any additional questions. I don't send emails. Journeys make a lot of sense. All right. Yeah, so thanks, Jenny and Jason. I have a lot to learn, and this is a great start to my journey to understanding. Yeah, I mean, we're moving with that first graph that I brought up to you guys when I first hopped on here. I was telling you where people are moving. They got the AI, then they're going to the automation type of robots that are working in Amazon. And a lot of people are using a lot more automation in their emails because they want to be able to do that. And I think Tarvin is an excellent tool for automating your journeys and stuff like that, and segmenting and making sure that they hit the right people so they don't get fatigued. So, any last words you have, Jason, there before we let the people go and give them their Saturdays back? My Saturday's just getting started over here on the West
Yeah,
Coast. Yeah.
same. I mean, honestly, like I said, our product is built very, very different than our competitors. Our pricing, it makes it extremely affordable for everybody to get started and start using our system. We have a ton more features that are coming online soon. And so, take advantage of what we've got in the system. It really does make a difference. And we have so many features we didn't go over today. And so all I say is give us a try and reach out to our support if you have any questions. We are very friendly. No question is a stupid question. Well, that will ever treat you for it being a stupid question. We may think some are dumb, but we treat everybody with respect. That's one of the things that everybody talks to us about is our support. That some people do feel embarrassed by some of the questions they ask, but we never make them feel bad. And I only bring that up because that just got brought up yesterday, and the guy, it was a guy out of Italy, and he just really, really likes our support, and that's one of the things he passes on to everybody. So please give us a shot and reach out to support if you have any questions.
All right, Jason, thank you for joining us here today. Let me give you some parting words here as we take off here. Um, thank Jason for showing up today, helping us out here on this SaaS Saturdays. The landscape is changing, and I think I shared with you earlier that I think less is best. Definitely when it comes to automation, you want to be able to turn a lot of that over and let your system do a lot of that for you. Here's what I will say, and you probably you probably know this already. The game is changing. The things that we did, I think the game is changing. What I mean by that is email and webinars and coaching and all that stuff's changing. I think it's on a life cycle of maybe 1.5 to 2 years, and then you have to kind of change whatever used to work 2 years ago may not work going into the third year. There's a lot of things that are changing. So make sure you stay abreast. Make sure you stay subscribed to SaaS Use Case TV. I'm going to be having that. I'm going to be doing a lot more live events. I have a platform that is launching, so make sure you stay tuned for that, where I'm going to have all the founders, all the end users, everybody's meeting up together. We're having these live streams. We're having these whiteboarding sessions for you to be able to grow your business. Look for that. That is coming. Once it launches, you're going to see it. I'm going to come back to this video. I'm going to put the link in the description below, but we're beta testing it. We're probably 85 to 95% done. That is going to be launching soon. Lots of stuff coming, and I have a major event that's going to happen every single year. So I want you guys to stay tuned. Hey, this has been Jenny Jones. Thank you guys for joining us here on SaaS Saturdays, the Digital Marketing Toolshed. Goodbye for now.